I should have learned. A few years ago, I ventured out and risked offending every reader who was sweet on bees. I wrote, "I hate bees," and I received 2 rebuke letters from that article. You would think those letters would have stung enough to keep me from writing this one, but not quite. So, if you can't live without your Honey Nut Cheerios, allow me to explain why I still hate bees. When I was a lot younger than I am now, I spent the summers at my grandparents' farm in southern West Virginia. They gave me free rein over their 90 acres. I ran up the mountains and hollered across the holler. And one day, while Grandpa was tending to the cows, I was wandering through one of the pastures when a bumblebee came out of nowhere. I felt like a bogey in the sights of a bomber. He buzzed around me for a while, and when I had enough, I swatted at him. That was all he needed to fire away. As my hand was still in mid-swat motion, he stung me right on the middle knuckle of my middle finger, and he was gone. He flew back to brag to his bee buddies about his latest hit. I cried like a baby with colic. Grandpa took me back to the farmhouse, and Grandma laid me down in the bed for the rest of the day. And for the rest of the day, my finger ballooned. From that day forward, I have hated bees because I'm scared senseless of them. Good day, podcast friends. This is L.J. Harry, and this is Simplify. But just a few Saturdays ago, I ventured out one more time. It's been over 20 years since I was dive-bombed by a bumblebee, but I was out mowing our lawn and came across a swarm of bees flying around the side of our house. I stopped long enough to see them fly under the vinyl siding on the side of the house. That's when I knew I had to do something. They had built a nest under the siding on the wall leading to Rayleigh's room. God has given Andrea and me 2 precious little girls, McKenna and Rayleigh. And I knew if those little buggers burrow a hole through that wall and get loose in Rayleigh's room, they can hurt my baby. I hot-footed it to the hardware store and asked for the most expensive bee spray they had. I was ready to spend $50 for the good stuff, the stuff the pros use. But they didn't have any of that, so I bought the $6 spray. I brought the bee spray back to the house and set up my sniper's nest outside the house. This was it. It was either me or them, but they weren't getting to Rayleigh. My father-in-law was visiting that weekend, and he and I took a few test sprays. Then we aimed and fired. Bees were coming from under the siding. They were flying back under the siding. We emptied both full cans of spray. Then I wheeled the power washer around and fired on them in flight. I knew I could get stung. I knew I was making them mad. I know I'm making some of you mad. But I also knew I had to protect Rayleigh. And while out on my little special forces mission, the Lord reminded me of the verse from Pastor John. There is no fear in love, because perfect love casts out fear. Yes, I was afraid of being stung again and again and again and again, but I love my girls more than I fear those bees. Many of us are afraid of bees, but most of us are afraid of rejection. What if I invite someone to church and they say no? What if I share my testimony and they laugh? What if I try to start a Bible study at work or a Bible club at school and they turn me down? What if I offer to pray for someone and I have broccoli in my teeth? So many times, many of us fall silent out of fear. But what would happen if our love for the people we love was stronger than our fear? If our concern for their well-being, both here and hereafter, was greater than our concern for our own feelings? We would invite them anyway. We would testify anyway. We would ask anyway. We would brush our teeth, then pray anyway. Don't allow fear to silence you from sharing the good news. Rather, fill up on love, take aim on fear, and fire away. You'll both be eternally glad you did. If you are at a place where you can stop and pray, would you pray with me that the Lord would help us to be so full of love and empty of fear? Lord, thank you for loving me enough to send someone who loved me enough to share the gospel with me. Would you please help me to share the gospel and my testimony with someone else? Please take away the fear I have of being turned away or turned down. Please help me to love past my fear and use me to make a difference in someone's life today. In Jesus' name, amen. If you can think of somebody you'd like to reach out to, share your testimony with, invite to church, or invite to your home for a meal or coffee or hot chocolate if you're like me and don't drink coffee. Sorry, I know I just made more listeners mad. or somebody you just want to get to know better as a friend, go ahead and ask. Invite them. Share your story with them. Do it in such a way that you know that you simply are reaching for them because you love them, you care for them. Not because you're just trying to make the church bigger or you're trying to get more money in the plate or people on the pew, but simply because you do genuinely care for them. And they will feel that. They'll know that. So go ahead and ask anyways, more than being afraid of being rejected or turned down or turned away. And there's a chance that you will get turned away or turned down or rejected, but that's okay. Jesus was, Jesus did, we have, we will. It happens. But we're not responsible for their response. We're only responsible for giving them an opportunity to respond. So whatever you want to do this week to reach that discipleship stage and making a disciple and making a stranger a friend and then a friend a disciple, as Pastor Stan Gleason beautifully writes in his book, Follow to Lead, go for it. Allow the love you have for God and for them to override your fear. I hope this episode has helped you, blessed you. If so, hit me up on social media. My Instagram and Twitter handles are LJ and Andrea, LJANDANDREA. And believe me, Andrea is the far better half of this couple. And then also Facebook is LJ.Harry. I'd love to hear your comments and let me know if this episode has been a help or blessing to you. Share it with somebody else. You can also get a copy of Simplify in print or Kindle at pentecostalpublishing.com. Or if you're in our fair city, stop by the charming bookstore on South Main Street called Paragraphs. They might have a copy or two left on their shelves. You can get a copy there. Next week, week 49 of our year, we will be into December, or at least close to it. And I want to share with you a devotion called The Carpenter's Boy. As we get closer to the Christmas season, we'll start to hear a little bit more about Jesus coming to earth simply because he loved us and came to save us. We'll hear about that next time, so I look forward to that, and always look forward to walking closer with Jesus as we walk through Simplify.